What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hawk Talk on Melrose. Got Tyler. What is going on, man? I know another disappointing loss yesterday against Michigan. We lost obviously 27-14, which didn't even realize we scored the last touchdown because we left the game after Blake Corum made that run. But
Yeah.
hey, we got 14 points. But yeah, not a good. I don't know. You can't. It's one of those wins or losses where it's like against the number 14, but the way we lost and just some of the stuff, it just makes you kind of disappointed. But we're gonna hash through all those things. What's going on, Tyler?
Yeah, what's going on, Collin? Obviously a nice Vikings win this morning. The early game kind of softened the blow for me this weekend. I got at least one win from one of the teams that I cheer for. It's a close one. But no, yeah, the game yesterday obviously didn't go the way we wanted it to. We'll talk about kind of our thoughts on what we saw. We were at the game. And yeah, just kind of overall our thoughts and how our
Yep.
offense again seemed like, didn't play horrible, but it took what, 4 quarters or three quarters to finally get going.
Finally, yeah, figure something out, which is very annoying. But yeah, so topics on this episode, we're gonna get into the post game instant reaction. We're gonna get into grades of the offense, defense, special teams, the good, the bad, the ugly. Where do we go from here? We'll take a look at our schedule coming up. Big Ten West, mediocre at best, and look at some other games of college football week 5. So we'll get into first the post game instant reaction. Before we kind of start, I think our prediction was kind of almost spot on. Tyler, you had 20-10. I had 24-6 going into the game. I kind of said, I didn't think we were going to be able to score a touchdown on this team. So I just kind of had a couple field goals. And then I really thought that with how good our defense was playing, I knew Michigan's offense was really good. So I knew they were going to put up points. And so 24-6 was just kind of what I thought. And it was very close to that. Like I said, we scored with a minute left. I don't take anything from that drive. And then, yeah, you
Yeah.
were really close too. I mean, you had us winning, or you had Michigan scoring 20 plus or 20 points, and then, giving us at least a touchdown and a field goal. So we were
Yeah.
both pretty accurate on the prediction for this game. And we wish we were wrong on it, but
Right.
sometimes that stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah, we were pretty spot on. I think obviously a couple of late touchdowns from both teams that kind of didn't really affect the game either way. So, um, you know, obviously we like you said, wish we were wrong on the prediction, but it kind of went as expected, I think.
So let's take a look at the team stats for this game. And actually, when you really look at this, and the total yardage, yeah, we were really close to Michigan. Which, if you would have told me before the game, if we were what is that 20? If we were 40 yards, 50 yards shy of Michigan in total yardage, I would feel pretty good. They had way more first downs than us, 24-16. Third out efficiency, we were much better than last week. I think last week we were like 1 for 9 or something like that. So 4 for 11,
Yeah.
better. The rushing attack though, 35 yards, which some of that came from those like sacks at the end, those 4
Yeah.
sacks in a row that we had. So like that, but still, I mean, it wasn't good. I think I would have to go look at the rushing, which we will the next slide. But yeah, for 1.5 yards per rush, that's not going to get it done. Penalties, we're the same with them. I mean, we could talk about the refs, which we might talk about, but that didn't win, or that didn't lose us the game. Or
Right.
if we would have, we would have won if we had, the rest. I mean, no, I mean, there were some bad calls, but, and then time of possession, which I can't really see here because of this screen sharing thing, but
Oh,
I think it was,
yeah, we lost it. I can see it.
oh, you did.
33 minutes and 44 seconds to Iowa's 26 minutes and 16
Yeah. So
seconds.
once
So,
again, losing the time of possession. I mean, that's just not,
which is no surprise.
no surprise when you're getting a lot of 3 and outs, different things like that. And then here is kind of the team stats. So, once again, gosh, I can't see because of this here.
I can read it off
I'll
if you
close it
want.
right here.
It's
Oh,
up to
here we
you.
go. I got it now. So
All right.
Spencer Petras, I mean, finished 21 for 31, 246 yards, 7.9 yards per completion, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Not bad, but once again, a lot of that yardage, a lot of that is from that last drive, which Michigan, I mean, they won the game. Why would they try hard on that last
Right.
drive? So it's kind of just, it's really hard to really look at these stats and be like, oh, or like I receiving, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. I mean, that's pretty good, but it's hard to take anything from that. Then you look over at Michigan, Blake Corum, 29 carries, 133 yards. I knew going in this game that was something that
Yep.
we had to contain Blake Corum, and we didn't really do a good job at that. And then JJ McCarthy, he's a really good quarterback, and we held him to only 155 yards, which is good. So I guess I don't know. I guess why is this not letting me? Oh, okay. I'm just gonna keep it on this slide. So I don't know. I just think going into the game, we had to do two things. Number one, we had to get turnovers, and we had to have really good special teams. And I knew going in that defense isn't going to win us the game. It's going to have to be our offense, because I knew Michigan was going to score I just thought at least 20 points. And just because, it's the number one scoring offense, and our defense, although is very good, I don't think it's like, even though it's the number one scoring defense, I don't think it was like elite defense by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I think you go back to the Iowa State game. If our defense was elite, we would not give up a 99-yard scoring drive. Last weekend, second half against Rutgers, if our defense was elite, it's really good, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's elite. And so you knew that they were going to put up points against our defense. It was just going to happen. And so it was going to be our offense that won us or loses the game. And that exactly happened. When, going into the end of the third quarter, I turned to you and said, I have yet to cheer today in three quarters. I mean, that's not good. You maybe cheer a little bit on defense, or maybe an occasional, if we got like a 15-yard completion, you clap or something. But I'm talking like legit cheering. It took until the end of the third quarter to do that, which is pretty sad. But not creating turnovers, not, special teams wasn't a factor. Michigan did exactly what they needed to do. They knew going in this game, this is probably their toughest game, outside of maybe home against Penn State, at Ohio State. So it's like, coming to Kinnick, let's just not do anything dumb, and we'll be fine. And that's exactly what Michigan did. They knew that really the only way we were going to probably win this game is off of turnovers. And so they were just very on offense. They were very relaxed of what they're doing. They didn't try to force anything, and they had a really good game plan for that. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. They knew coming into this game that their offense was going to generate a couple of touchdowns. That's what they were asking their offense to do. Score 14 points, and you're probably sitting in a pretty good spot. Well, obviously up until the fourth quarter, they did that, and we actually, finally scored. But it was a weird game. I mean, we sat next to each other. We're like, we have not had the opportunity to like get into this game for literally 45 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah.
It took literally to the fourth quarter for us to finally be like, oh my gosh, we're doing something. And it was so confusing why Brian decided to be so conservative that whole way. What did we talk about last episode? We said, you can't come in to this game being who we've been the first 4 weeks and expect to beat Michigan. We can't just do what we normally do. That's not going to get it done. If you want to, cover the spread, okay, maybe, right? Maybe we'll do that. And we did. But it was so weird that we didn't, it just felt like we never gave ourselves a chance in this game, right? And that was just obviously disheartening, I thought.
Yeah, I just thought I told you at the end of the game, I said, why did it take until the fourth quarter? Yeah, to just start playing aggressive, start attacking, because we looked pretty good in the fourth quarter. And it's just like, why can't we do this the entire game? Why does it take for us to be down 20-0 to finally be like, oh yeah, let's throw the ball downfield. Let's be a little aggressive. Let's open up the playbook, because there were plays, even for some running plays, that were a little different than what we normally do. Although, and this could be a side topic, although that last drive where, it was 20-7, we were about ready to score again. Some questionable play calling there at best, especially that third down and the fourth down. But just overall, though, in the fourth quarter, or the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, just way better play calling. And it's like, why does it take for us to be down 20-0 for this to happen? I don't get that. And the thing is like, I was listening to Sound Off on the way back to Des Moines yesterday, and a lot of people were bashing the defense because, and I'll fully admit, yeah, the defense did not look very good. But going back to what I just said before, I don't think this defense is elite. It's very good. So, like, yeah, we're not going to be able to stop every single team that we face. And so with Michigan, probably the best offensive line we're probably going to face the rest of the way. Obviously a really good running back, although Big Ten has some good running backs. But yeah, Blake Corum might be the best running back, but like next week we play, is it Chase Young or what's his name from Illinois? Chase Brown. And then obviously, Ibrahim, later in the year. So we still face some good running backs, but Blake Corum right up there. You're talking maybe one of the best quarterbacks we'll face. You're talking really good receiving core.
Yeah.
So really good Michigan offense. And if you really think about it, we only gave up 20 points with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And 20 points for most teams for 90% of college football is like nothing. But for Iowa, 20 points is like 40 points. So although we can say, God, the defense played like shit, which there were times they did yesterday. There were drives where we just couldn't get off the field. But at the same time, though, they only gave up 20 points. 20 points, are you kidding me? To the number one scoring offense, which once again, that's kind of skewed because Michigan hasn't really played anyone. I get that. But I guarantee you the rest of the way, Michigan, maybe besides the Ohio State game, will put up like close to 30-ish points a game. Yeah, it's just their offense is a good offense. And we only gave up 20 points with 4 minutes left. And you could say, well, it was 27. I get that, but they also got the ball like the 30-yard line to start that last drive. So
we gave it to them basically there. So
so 20 points isn't much. And you look at like I said, the stats too, 327 total yards. That's really nothing if you really think about it.
Yeah.
And yet, we want to criticize the defense. It's like, no, it's the offense 100%.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, how can a defense expect, like, when you're out there as much as they were leading in, probably going into the fourth quarter or almost to it, it's like asking your defense to win you the game again and against what did we say, against top 5 teams? It ain't gonna happen. You're not. You can get away with it against Rutgers because you got two defensive scores, but Rutgers is Rutgers. Rutgers just got smacked by Ohio State, which most teams are going to. But I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, you have to give yourself a chance in the fourth quarter, and we did not do that. That's all you're really asking for if you're Iowa, and really we did to an extent. Yeah. But again, we failed to, and I'm sure we'll get into it, run a route past 2 yards to even give ourselves a chance on that. That would have been second touchdown to get us to 14. But regardless, I mean, the offense, it played better, but it's still, like I said, if we would have, and Spencer actually played, not bad for it was probably one of his better games of the season. I just don't know why you don't go out there and try to actually open it up a little bit and play aggressive and play with nothing to lose, because you're already going to lose the game the way that we played. Yeah. And I don't, that's a little, or very, very questionable in my opinion.
So I'm going to go back just one bit with the defense too. I think another thing too is, we can be hard on our defense, but once again, they're out there for so long, it seems like at times. And then and then our offense goes out and gets through. So like, for example, like the first drive, obviously, that's kind of their fault that they just kept letting them. I mean, that was like a 10-play drive. Yeah. And then they get off the field, and then our offense goes 3 and out to start the game. And then they're right back on the field like that.
Yep.
And it's like they have no time to rest, no time to try to
make an adjustment,
adjustments or anything.
Right. And it's all like we talk about the first drive. Iowa's not usually great on defense. The first drive, it seems like a lot of teams are able to kind of script their plays and have success and move the ball. So that wasn't a huge surprise. I think you even kind of mentioned that like when we were sitting next to each other at the game, you're like, well, this is the first drive. So, but right. When you come out and you run your scripted plays and you don't do anything, it's like, okay, like, come on.
I went back and watched. So I don't know if you remember, I should just like pull it up. But that drive where the first drive that Iowa had, Spencer Petras, it was like 3rd down and 4, threw it to a guy that was like double coverage and
covered.
Yeah. If you watch the play, and he had great protection, so he didn't have to throw it when he did. Like he could have waited another second or two, and if he would have, he had Nico wide open in the middle for like a 15-yard completion. But he's focused on one guy. He's gotten better at like reading progressions, different things like that, but he's still not very good at it. Sometimes he is just locked in on one guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't do that. And that was like going into the season. That was something that, remember, they talked about, they like to simplify. And it's like, I get that, but it's like, man, like when you hike the ball and you're literally focusing on one guy, that it's so easy for the defense to, especially if you're playing like double coverage. I mean, it's
Collin, we were lucky. They had a pick six going the other way because Spencer keyed in and locked in on that receiver.
Yeah.
And we were very lucky. He just dropped it.
Yep.
Flat out dropped it. So he has not gotten better in that area, in my opinion. He it's weird because sometimes it's like if the guy's not wide open, more often than not, it's not a great situation. Now, I will say he did make that one throw that was pretty unbelievable, that tight window throw and catch.
See, he's capable of making that occasional really good throw. Like yesterday, he had a couple good passes. I mean, he really did. And then he'll have one that it's like, what the hell?
Get a couple of good rollouts, I thought, and on the move type of throws. And I agree. There was a couple of we saw better things. It's just, you just wish from a guy that has started for 3+ years. It's like, just wish
like 25-ish games. You would think that some of that stuff
would be better.
Yeah.
And after the game, what we hear again? Footwork can't happen. It's like, dude, I'm tired of hearing that. Don't even say that anymore. Like, seriously, that stuff like pisses me off.
Yeah. I want to say one other thing about the defense too, is we as fans didn't really do much. I mean, it was really like the first 3 quarters, it was pretty quiet inside Kinnick, and it wasn't our fault. It was just, we were so depleted because our offense was so bad. And then you saw in the 4th quarter, we finally got a touchdown. And remember how loud it got? And we got that stop on 3rd down and 1.
Yes.
And it's like, if our offense was just decent, the energy in the stadium would be so much better. And I really think that would have maybe resulted in maybe a turnover by Michigan, maybe something, but there was no energy in Kinnick because up until the end of the 3rd quarter, it was literally 20-0. And you looked up at the team or the stats, and we had like 100 yards total. Yeah. So it's like, how can there be any energy? How can we get excited to be on defense? And then we finally scored, and we were still down 27, but it was as if it was tied because they got super loud and we stopped them. So
this offense never even gave the home crowd a chance to even rattle like a guy like JJ McCarthy, like his first true road start, first kind of hostile environment. I mean, they didn't have to do anything special. They just played their game, and fortunately we played ours for the first 3 quarters, and it benefited JJ, and he didn't have to make a mistake, force a throw, didn't have to, that north end zone obviously did not affect him.
No,
it just,
there was no drive where he started at like the 5-yard line.
No, true.
I mean, we were non-existent like special teams, right? And I mean, those were the 2 things that that was like our only chance to win this game. Obviously offense, but we just knew offense probably wasn't going to. So we really needed turnovers and our special teams to really be an impact. And neither of those things, I mean, special teams didn't lose us the game, but they didn't do anything either.
No. And that's the thing. It's like, against a team like this, Collin, like offense at the end of the day, when this is new era of college football, defense will keep you in a game, but an offense is what's really probably going to win you the game more often than not. So
unless you're playing a really bad team,
unless you're playing Rutgers and you get 2 scores from your defense, then great. But it's not realistic.
So one last thing about this game, let's talk about that final or that drive where it was 20-7. We get that 3rd down and 1 stop. We get the ball back. They punt the ball. We actually get right down the field.
Yeah.
And we're at like the 10-yard line. And that drive in particular, we actually, prior to the last like couple downs, it was a 3rd and 6, and we actually did a run play. And I remember my dad right now, "Are you kidding?" And then we ended up getting the 1st down.
It was the same way.
I think we were setting ourselves up for like a 4th down play because we knew like
right.
Wouldn't
It's
do
2 down
anything.
territory. Yep.
But so we get to that. It's like 3rd down and 3, and once again we're out shotgun and we do a run play, and that call, like, I don't mind it in a sense, just because like that entire drive we were running pretty good. And so really we only needed 3 yards. And so I could see why we were running it to maybe hopefully get a 1st down, but maybe set up like a 4th and 1, but of course gets like immediately stopped. And it's 4th down and 2. He might've got a yard. 4th down and 2. And the 4th down play is just a play that I don't like at all. 2 things. You're scrambling on the left side, roll out to the left. Number one, Petras is not a running quarterback. He's not very good throwing on the run.
Or a left-handed quarterback.
Or left, yes. And then number two, you're eliminating like half the field because you're rolling out to the left.
Yep.
I mean, once in a while you'll see a play where you roll out to the left and everything goes to the left, and then you throw back to the right, or the other way around.
Sure.
Right? But like that, I mean, with Iowa, that you're not going to do that.
Who did that go to again? Laporta on that play?
Okay. And if you watch it, it was a really bad throw too. Like I think if he throws it a little bit better, I think Laporta might have a chance to maybe
reach
catch
out
it and be able to kind of shred that tackle a little bit to get the first down. But regardless, terrible play call. And we ended up actually getting like a pass interference, and everyone around us was like, what? And it's like, because it was a pick play. And I don't know. I mean, you can agree or disagree on that, but regardless, it didn't matter. But it was just a terrible play call. Like, what are we doing? There has to be a better play call than that. There has to be. And it goes back to like, with 2-point conversions are like what, 2 or 3 yards out. I don't know what this our stats are on 2-point conversions. I would love to go look, because I know it's really bad. I remember seeing it at one point, like a couple years ago, how bad it is. And it just kind of goes back to like, how do we not have a couple really, really solid plays that are like from 2 yards out?
Must-have plays.
Yeah, like where like you don't run very often, but they're high percentage plays, because that play call was trash. It was terrible.
Trash.
And I just don't get that play call. I mean, here's the thing, run that play call on third down. I mean, because like,
sure,
you know what I mean? Like, it's just not a good play call. I don't like it. And I really think, I don't know if we would have won the game, but if you score on that drive and you make it 20-14,
with the way the energy had already just picked up,
God. I don't like,
we would have been nuts.
I really think our defense finds a way to get off the field again, and we might get the ball back with a chance to win.
With a chance. That is correct.
Regardless, though, let's go say we lose 20-14 then, and you know, it's doesn't look like a bad loss. And honestly, like, and that's one other thing I do want to say is like, I'm just glad we didn't get blown out though, because like, you know, the writing was on the wall a little bit going into the game. Like there was a chance that, you know, it might look like the Big Ten championship game again. And then when we kind of, you know, the first half, you know, they were kind of going down the field left, you know, and our offense was, I mean, it could have easily been a 45-7 game. Right. And so I'm glad that we at least kept it close in a way. I just wish, I don't know. I just thought that we had opportunities yesterday to win that game. I think Michigan's a good football team, but we had opportunity. If our offense was just, once again, and we keep saying this every single year and every single game, our offense was just a little bit better. If our offense was just did this, our offense, it always comes back to our offense. So
that play, I want to talk about that play a little bit too. And another thing that I noticed about that play, that so you already hit it. So it's a kind of a rollout to the left. Not great. Limits one side of the field. He's a right-handed quarterback. It's going to the left. So you have to like flip your hips and make a tough throw. Like, and he's not great with his footwork already. So why are we doing that? Number 3. Okay, I get getting the ball to a guy like Laporta, one of your better players, a reliable guy. Great. But that play, Collin, the reason why it was trash, and I mean, I'm sure you already know this and it's not rocket science, but the reason that I hate that play, because that play is just designed to go to him. There's no other option.
Yeah.
The other guy's setting a pick. He's not even involved in the play.
So
you're literally dialed in on one guy and he has to make the play. You're fucked. You're screwed.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because you listen to Ferentz's podcast in the offseason with Chad Lastico. Remember they were talking about plays that were like, it's kind of like screenplays. It's either you get it or you don't. It's like one of those play calls. So
it's a 50-50.
Yeah, because you know some plays it's like you have so many different, like where it's like this play is like you said, you're
this
going
is
to
one option. One option only. There's nothing off of it. There's not a progression. There's not a reading the deep. This is where the ball is going. He read it. He ran to the left expecting that play to go to Laporta the entire way. You've now limited yourself to that receiver. And come on. That's not the fourth down play that you go with. I'm sorry. But
Yeah, it's just
That's my
annoying
thoughts on
that.
it. Yeah.
Just think, Tyler, we had 2 plays to get 3 yards, and we
I,
couldn't because we do a run play, which, like I said, I don't mind that
no, I
play
don't
call in a
mind it.
sense, but I still wouldn't do that play. I mean, it's 3rd down and 3. It's like there could have
Well,
been something
also
that we could have done there.
and we're running it great, but time is not on our side too. And
Yeah, because like there
I
was like
think
what 6 minutes left, 7 minutes
well,
left.
right. It's like, and you gotta account for maybe a couple of first downs from Michigan on the next drive. I mean, I don't know, but you want to give yourself as much time as possible. But regardless, I agree. It's not the end of the world that second down play call, but or third down play call, whatever it was. Um, but the fourth down play call, in my opinion, made zero sense
Yeah, it was.
from a an offensive standpoint where you're already so limited, and now you limit yourself
Limit.
to one guy making a play for a first down. And of course, we didn't even he I'm not saying he ran the route wrong, but like you said, I don't think he got deep enough. And then Petrus threw it short anyway, so it just didn't even matter. And of course, offensive interference. Regardless,
Yeah, so
I
it's
don't know.
like
It was a
it's
busted play from the get go.
yeah. One other drive I want to point out too that like we go back to like I hate blaming like thinking like the refs the reason why you win or lose a game, but that one drive where we get like Caleb Johnson gets like an 18-yard run and
Yeah,
it gets called back, and then we complete a pass and get like a first down, and then we get another like that drive we had one 10-yard penalty, another 15-yard penalty that really hurt, and
yeah,
like that really sucks because like I think at that point it was 10-0. I think that was right before half. And like I
yeah,
remember turning to you when that during that drive, and I was like, God, this is such a big drive because if we could somehow go down the field and at least get a field goal to go into half 10-3.
sure.
And sure enough, we don't. And they end up actually kicking a
Because we
field
get
goal
the
to make it
ball at half. Yeah,
13-0. Yeah, and we get the ball at
right,
half.
right.
So yeah, the officials were really bad yesterday. It wasn't really, like I said, I'm not gonna dive deep into it just because we had opportunities and it's not like that, like I said, they lost us the game. But
Right.
like man, there were some terrible calls. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, you go back to that first drive for Michigan where what's his name scores that touchdown? Uh Ronnie Bell. Is
Yeah,
that his name?
Ronnie Bell.
Yeah, I mean,
I think there was a clear obvious hold from one of the
yeah,
receivers
if
on
you
the
go
left
back and
side.
watch it on Riley Moss, it was not. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It wasn't like 100, like you would really, but like it looked. I
And
mean, he
if they're
definitely
gonna let that play, fine. But let's let the stuff play the rest of the
the
game.
rest of the game.
Let's not be all ticky tacky when it comes to us on offense.
Yep,
Now again, I'm not gonna say anything about it really as much either. I will say though, once again, it seems like we're committing. I mean, regardless if it is or not a penalty, whatever, we are committing quite a bit of penalties for an offense that can't
can't
afford
do
to do
anything.
it.
And when we get
And it
beyond the
just seems
six,
like,
we're
yeah,
fucked.
it just seems like we're drive killers, man.
Yep.
And for the most part, they are. We completed. I think we overcame one or two of them, but for the most part, it just does seem like we're committing 50, 60 yards worth of penalties a game, and that's you can't do it. You
No.
just can't do it.
All right, let's take a look at the grades then. So just real quick, I'm just gonna give you mine and then you can give you
All
so
right.
offensively, I have a D plus. It would have been an F, but at least like in the fourth quarter, we saw some things that hopefully, and that's the thing too. I hope we build off that. Like I hope we look at
Yeah.
that and be like, wow, like yeah, like what we did in the fourth quarter, let's continue doing that every game. Like let's try to attack. But the problem is it's Iowa, it's Kirk, it's Brian, and
Yeah.
we can it's all wishful thinking.
Right.
But you would think that you could build off of what we saw in the fourth quarter. Minus that once again, minus the last drive, just because Michigan wasn't obviously trying.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
but I'm
No.
talking the drives before that. So I'm gonna give it a D plus. Defensively, I'm going to give it a B, because once again, we did give up some things. Our rushing defense didn't look very good, but we only gave up 20 points really when it mattered. So I'm going to give them a B. And then special teams, they didn't do anything to really, like I said, to lose us a game or anything, but they also didn't a unit that we really need to rely on. They didn't really do anything for us. So I'm going to give special teams really like a B as well.
Yeah.
Torrey Taylor was really non-factor, which once again, like the fact that we are relying on our punter is like annoying,
Sure.
but
Sure.
it is who we are though. So you got to, and we didn't really do much.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give them like a B as well. So D plus, B, and B.
I mean, it's hard to argue. I don't know. The offense, like you said, D. I'll give it a D. D plus
D
maybe.
plus. Yeah.
It wasn't a factor until the fourth quarter. And I'm sorry, but there's 4 quarters of football I got to grade. Great. And if I want to grade the offense in the fourth quarter, I'll grade it an A minus. They
Yeah.
actually did score twice. Great. But there's 3 quarters to go along with that. And like you said, we had 0 points. I mean, 0 points going into the fourth quarter. That's not going to cut it against this team. So yeah, D plus probably. Defense, I thought, like you said, maybe like a B minus B. It, I hold our defense to just such a high standard, and like you mentioned, that we are susceptible to giving up some yards on, especially on the ground. It seems like, or even like some chunk yardage and stuff like that. Once in a while, a guy like Riley Moss getting beat once again. It just seems like he always gives up a 30-yard completion or a touchdown or something like that in a game. Which again, I'm not going to bash on the defense or Riley Moss. I'm just saying, I'm holding them to top 5 defense in the country. And yesterday we did not play our best game by far. But that's what happens again when you play a great offense at number 4 Michigan. Our offense is terrible. So I just hold them all to the highest standard. So I would say they did not have a great day. I would go B minus. And then yeah, special teams I go C. They didn't hurt us. They didn't help us. They were pretty average. So
Average at best.
yeah, average at best. So I would go, what was it, D plus, B minus, and then C.
Yep. And I really think, the way the game played out, if our offense was like a B-ish,
Oh,
defense
sure. Then
was
our
a
defense would be a B plus, A minus, I'm sure.
yeah, I think we
They
might
go
have a
hand in
chance to
hand.
win
Yeah.
that game.
They're not on the field as much, right? So that's where I'm at with it too. It's like you have less opportunity to kind of mess up if you're the defense, if you're not out there 75% of the time, what seems like.
Yeah. So if we were going to do this podcast this morning, Sunday morning, I wouldn't have been able to do this because this doesn't update until like the afternoons on Sunday, but it finally got updated. So here we are. Scoring defense, we did drop a little bit. We are now at let's see here, at 3, averaging 10. And the team that we face, Tyler, next week in 6 days is number 1 now in the country in scoring defense. So
Okay.
we're number 3. Total defense, we are now 7. I think we were 6 prior to that. So 254.4 yards. Illinois, look at that. Team that we face again next week. Top 3 total defense. Now let's look at the offense. Hey, we're not last. We are finally above Colorado State by 1 point. 1 yard, I should say. Hey, and by the way, Colorado State is undefeated. Oh wait, never mind. Oh wait, no, they're 0-4. Okay.
Colin, we're up a spot by 0.4 yards,
Yeah,
not even a yard.
Sorry, 0.4.
Okay.
Scoring offense, and once again, it's mainly because you see the 17 points per game, but you can factor maybe defense a little bit.
Sure.
So we have gotten up a little bit, but we're still not very good. 121st. Rushing offense, our identity, 123. Maybe it's that zone blocking scheme. Maybe it's something, because this is, Tyler, isn't this like the 7th year of our rushing offense being terrible? I mean, there has to be something. What's the kryptonite? What is it?
I agree. There's a common denominator. It's the same offense every year, the same rushed style of offense, the same scheme, and we're not good at it. I wonder why. It ain't because of Caleb Johnson running the football. I can tell you that. It's because of the way we run the football.
Passing offense, 119th.
Jesus.
154 yards per game. I mean, look at these other teams. Like we are paired up like
we're in the same conversation as Navy, Collin, a team that runs the triple option,
or Air Force,
or
Army,
UConn. UConn is universally probably known as like literally one of the worst football programs of all time, year in and year out.
Third down completion, 122nd.
Oh, I couldn't have behind Massachusetts. Okay, sure,
30%.
Sure. Man, Colorado State and Iowa seem like they kind of know what's going on.
Thank God for our defense, so we'd be just like Colorado State, 0-4. Time of possession, something that we try to be. I mean, you would think Iowa, a physical, trying to run the football, you would think we would be top 50 in the country, but we are actually 113th in the country, averaging 27 minutes of time of possession.
it's kind of funny. You got like a team like Oklahoma State here at 121. Like they're not winning time of possession probably because they're scoring so
They're
much.
scoring, yeah, and it's
So
or like North Carolina.
sure that are just scoring at a rate that where you're not possessing the ball very much. But
Very,
for this style of football, the way that we play,
you
we
shouldn't be
have
like
to
that.
kind of sure. Exactly.
Yep, and then dude, I
Yep.
thought I had oh, I might have not had it. I thought I had the red zone complete or the red zone percentage. I thought I made a slide. I must have accidentally deleted it, but the
What do
red
we
zone
got?
percentage. Um, okay, I'm actually just gonna look at this quick, just because it's can you see
All
this
right.
right
So
now or not?
yeah, I can.
All right,
Well,
so
regardless so far, just real quick while you find it, the what you're showing us is the worst of the worst, the rock bottom of offense. And unfortunately, it's for the team that we cheer for. So every stat is so bad for this team, and I'm curious to see our red zone offense here as
okay,
well.
so red zone offense, we are 125th in the country. We're 66%. But the thing that struck me the most, it's not that really. It's we've only been in the red zone 9 times this year. Look at all the other teams in the bottom. 17,
Yep,
20, 23, 16, 12, 17, 13. I mean,
yep.
look at that. We've only been in the red zone 9 times this year. So it's not so much the percentage that is just
No,
not good. It's the
our
fact,
attempts. Yeah.
yes. I'm gonna go to the number one team and just see how many
Colin,
times they've
the other
been.
the other the
Clemson,
other single digit
28
team.
times.
Well, the other single digit team in the red zone right there was what? Colorado State again.
Yep. Ohio State, 25, 100%. And we've 9 times. Some of these schools are triple than us, and we played the same amount of games. That's just uncalled for. That's why I did the Brian Ferentz smirk, because it's yeah. What
This
about?
is on you, bud. I agree. This is a product of Iowa not being able to, first of all, sustain a drive to get to the red zone. And number two, we're not, I mean, without our defense, probably more often than not, getting us a turnover or getting us in that spot where we've only got, less than 20 yards to get a touchdown, we're not going to get there
We're
on our own.
no. And I should actually not put up a Brian. I should put Kirk, because once again, you go back to when Ken O'Keefe was offense
Sure.
coordinator,
Yeah.
Greg Davis, now Brian. It's not really them. It all comes down to the head
Yeah.
man, to the
Sure.
guy that calls everything, right? He is the CEO.
Yeah.
He's what makes the decisions. It's all on him. It's his offense. It's not Ken O'Keefe's offense. It's not Greg Davis's offense. It's not Brian Ferentz. Now, yeah, we can all say Brian Ferentz's play calling is really bad, but the entire scheme, the entire offense is predicated on Kirk Ferentz. So I should actually have a Kirk Ferentz picture up here, but I could not find one. So here's Brian Ferentz.
It's Kirk is stubborn in his ways, and I hope for the sake of this Iowa football team going forward, maybe it won't be this year, but maybe next year, maybe they'll just look at what the stats are and be like,
And
it it ain't right. And this is you're 100% right. It's not Spencer. It's not the offensive line. It's really not even Brian to an extent. Like it is a culture or sort of kind of a culture right now. It's like we're okay with pathetic offensive play. We're okay with
yep,
it. Is
we're
defense and special teams wins the game. No, it doesn't.
yeah.
They keep you in a game. That's what
Like
they're supposed to do.
it's like what I
Keep
said.
you in a game.
It's like what I said yesterday after the game. I said, Ferentz is really like an old school NFL coach. He likes to play kind of that NFL style, but even the NFL
Sure.
is starting to adapt more towards the offense.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
all the good teams that are good now in the NFL are teams that are focused on offense. I mean, look at the Steelers. I mean, they
Yeah.
lost again today to the Jets. They are a defensive team, defensive minded team. Mike Tomlin, defensive coach, and they lose. I mean, they're not very good. They haven't been good in a couple of years. I mean, all the focus is on the offense now.
Yeah.
And even in the NFL, even in Ferentz, I mean, in college, it's been for many years.
Yeah.
NFL is finally, just these last couple of years, has really kind of adapted more towards that. So
Defense wins you championships. I always say like what gets you to a championship game, you have to be able to score, right?
score.
Like
Yeah.
your defense isn't gonna win you the game
Yep.
every game. It's just and you're seeing, like I said, you're seeing a team now that think about that. Our defense is so good, but yet they play out there so much that and now we're down to Justin Jacobs, which I thought hurt us yesterday in
Yeah,
a
I
big
did.
game like Michigan. I thought for coverage wise and things like that, but in run stopping, I just you just can't ask a defense. I mean, I know we gave up 27, like you said. You just can't ask a defense to do much more in a game like this. So
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the good, the bad, the ugly. So for me, I would say the good is just, I actually seen Petrus kind of capable. I mean, I'm just hoping that can maybe go on the rest of the way. So I would say maybe that's the good. I would say the bad is the defense just giving up like run plays. Like I just saw our defensive
yeah,
line got exposed a little bit yesterday. Our linebackers, I mean, they were getting 8 yards a carry, sometimes even more than that. A carry that should have looked like it was going to be stopped at the line of scrimmage. Then they end up getting 4 or 5 yards. It's like, come on. We just couldn't really get a push. And so I would say maybe that was a bad. And the reason why I put that there, just because going forward, Illinois, Minnesota, you got
yeah.
teams that like to run the football. And so you got to figure that out. And then the ugly, I would just say like play calling, because once again, not just the fourth down play I'm talking about, but like the entire first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, the play calling was terrible. And so I would say that's the ugly. So the good, the bad, the ugly there.
I would say real quick the good. I think we saw some things with maybe like a no huddle style of sense of urgency, things like that. Maybe that can continue into the next game. Maybe we don't take our kind of our methodical style of offense and continue to do that. Maybe we speed things up a little bit, give Spencer just the quick decision of making a play and getting on with the play and the drive, and hopefully not overthink things too much. Maybe actually play with an aggressive style, and actually try to score the football. I would say that was kind of good to see, I guess, towards the end of the game. The bad, I don't know how you get, decipher between the bad and the ugly, I guess. But for me, the bad is just, our offense. I think it is what it is this year. It's not going to be better. It's probably can't get any worse. So I would say that. And then the ugly with you, it's the coaching a little bit and the play calling. Like I just your offense isn't great. Why not in a game like this try something different? Have that different mindset,
Different.
that aggressive style mindset, and try some different plays that Michigan hasn't seen on tape, because there hasn't been a lot of great from the offense. I don't think it's that
No,
hard to draw up something special against a team like that. I'm not saying it has to be a trick play or anything like that. There has to be some sort of
something that, yeah,
different style of offense or different play that we haven't seen or something. Hell, Michigan ran a reverse and it worked. We didn't even do that. We didn't try to misdirect them, confuse them on defense, on their defense, on our offense. Like we didn't do anything special. We didn't. It just seemed like we just wanted to, like I said, we wanted to cover almost. That's a
just be
vibe I got. Yeah,
be
just don't get
yeah.
blown
Well,
out
it's
on
just like this.
TV.
It was the
Like
same game. It was a typical game plan. It's just defense or just it's like the old school
hell, the Big
NFL.
Ten,
Like just
well,
play defense and
yeah, the Big Ten championship. I mean, I know we got blown out last year, but hell, that first drive, what did we do? We mixed it up and it worked. We
yeah,
got
and we almost
ourselves in a
scored.
position to score. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just it's and then like the coaching as well. It's just like what you said, like Kirk, just the way that they always talk after the game about, oh, hopefully we saw something. It's just
Yeah,
no.
it's annoying.
I'm tired of it. Yeah. I don't know.
So where do we go from here? That's kind of the big question. Thing is as much as we want to say it, I mean, the West is once again mediocre, and we'll talk about that a little bit. The Big Ten West, but man, it's not going to get any easier.
No.
Illinois is like kind of like Kansas for Iowa State. Every year it's an easy win, right? But nowadays it's like maybe you have to start taking this game a little bit more seriously, because the team is actually pretty good. And Illinois, for so long, it was almost like a bye week for Iowa, especially when it was
Yeah.
especially a home game. But now, no, this Illinois team is no joke. I mean, they are a good football team. They like to run the football. That's just such a tough game. And then you
Yep.
get the bye week. And then you play at Ohio State, which is a guaranteed loss. I mean, there's just nothing that you can convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's a loss. So we could very well go into the Northwestern game with losing 3 straight games and being
Yep.
3-4.
Yep.
And once again, Northwestern, not a good football team, but they always play Iowa tough every single
Sure.
year. I don't care how bad Northwestern is. Hell, even last year when they were 3-9, they kept it pretty close against us. I mean, it wasn't a game where we just easily went
No.
into Evanston and walked out with an easy win. I mean, that was a tough game. I mean, you saw them yesterday. They played at Penn State and lost 17-7. I mean, they're gonna play these opponents tough. I mean, it's just who Northwestern is. It's Pat Fitzgerald to a T.
Yep. Exactly.
It always seems like Northwestern against good teams play a lot better, and then against like shitty teams,
Yeah.
they end up.
They always play up to their level of opponent, I feel like.
And then you play at Purdue. They just won at Minnesota. I'm sure Charlie Jones will have like 250 yards against us.
I was just gonna say, watch out for a guy named Charlie Jones that game. He's gonna want to go off, if you will.
Wisconsin might be the easiest game left on our schedule, the way it's looking. But watch as
Right
that's
now.
so far away.
Oh, I
that
know.
They might figure some things out.
Yep.
Here, 1 second.
Oh, you're good. I can hear you now.
Yeah, I just said the microphone thing, so I was going to stop talking there, but it's back. So, yeah, so that game might be the easiest game left on our schedule. Maybe. I mean, well, probably Northwestern. But the Wisconsin game, I mean, the way they're looking right now, man, they are, struggling. At Minnesota, that's going to be very tough. I think both of us, before the season, kind of thought this was the year that they would finally beat us, and I think it will be. Now, once again, though, it's so far away. Anything can happen. Injuries, just different things like that. I mean, hell, you saw Minnesota. They lost their receiver for the rest of the year.
Sure.
I don't even, and I think Ibrahim didn't play yesterday. I'm pretty sure. I thought I saw that.
I think you're right. I think it was another back.
Yeah. And then Nebraska at home, which, I mean, they won last night. They beat Indiana like 35-21. Thing with Nebraska is I think they've kind of, with Mickey Joseph, I think they're going to kind of get behind him. And I think that you're going to see Nebraska play really hard for Mickey Joseph because, I think Mickey Joseph, I've never really, heard him speak or anything like that. But from what I've kind of heard is he is a pretty good coach. I mean, hell, you saw him coach up 2 studs at LSU that went on, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. So I think he knows, or I think, he's kind of the right guy to at least get them through the end of the season. I don't know what Nebraska will end up doing at the end of the season. Like if he has a good rest of the way, he might become the head coach for them. But you saw last night that you could just tell that the players are behind him. And so like, that's not going to be an easy game either. Their defense is terrible, but watch with how bad our offense is, watch that we won't be able to do anything against their defense. And then their offense is actually pretty good. So that's not a easy win either.
I'll say this. One thing I took away from what you just said, Collin, you just said Wisconsin might be the easiest game on our schedule. That to me is not great, a great thing to hear. Now, obviously that means every team is beatable. So that's good news. However, that means you're going to be probably in a dogfight every game that you're in. It's not going to be chalk Northwestern up as a win, chalk Minnesota up as a win. We always beat Minnesota. It's like, no, that's not how this is going to play out. Illinois, same way, chalk Illinois up as a win. No, we're playing at Illinois. It's going to be a night game. They just came off of destroying Wisconsin. Like at Wisconsin, they're going to be on fire to win this game. And they have a chance to obviously continue a good season they've had so far. So I think that is going to be a very tough game. And it's kind of like, it's not the hardest schedule, obviously playing in the Big Ten West, but for Iowa this year, and like you said, our offense, it is not easy by any means.
And the thing I will say this too, just trying to be positive, because there's always like, you always want to stay positive. It's not like the season is completely over. Sometimes after losses, especially right after a loss, you feel that way. But then a couple days later, you kind of rebound from it, and then you kind of look and like, okay, And so for Iowa's case, besides Ohio State game, which like I said, that's a loss. You still have a good season.
You're playing only probably one more ranked opponent.
Yeah,
right?
Beat Illinois. You'll obviously lose against Ohio State, but then the rest of the season is Big Ten West teams. And so you have a chance to win some of these games. And once again, we're going to look at the Big Ten West here. I mean, look at this. I mean, the fact that Northwestern,
Yeah.
well, I guess it's all tied and it goes by.
It's all
But
tied. Yeah. But
I mean, it's not a good division at all. I mean, Minnesota,
no.
we thought Minnesota was going to walk out and then they lose yesterday. So teams are going to beat each other up. And hell, it might be a team with 4 losses in the conference that might make it to Indy. Like, it might be one of
It
those
could.
years. You
It
know?
very well could. Yeah. 100% agree.
So, I mean,
If you're trying to look at it with the glass half full, I agree. You're in a situation where you are not out of it by any
no.
means, and you could lose another game. Like, you could lose a game or two in the Big Ten West, and I think still
Well,
potentially.
even with Iowa losing, because like I said, guaranteed loss at Ohio State. So we're gonna have at least 2
Right.
conference losses. But yeah,
Yes.
we could lose it probably a third time and still possibly have a chance in the Big Ten
Sure.
West. Like, that's how bad I think the Big Ten West is. And here's the thing with Iowa too, that they have to look at the only positive thing. And I'm gonna, like, once again, I'm gonna eliminate the Ohio State game just because that's an
Yes.
automatic loss.
Yep.
Michigan, like, that's the best team we're gonna face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
their offensive line, their offense, probably you could
D-line,
probably say
yeah.
their defense. Like, that's the best team that we're gonna probably face, obviously minus Ohio State.
Yep.
The rest of the way. And so once again, if our defense can continue playing well, special teams, and then oh God, let's just hope our offense can do something. We still have a chance to have at least a decent year. I mean, it's not like the
Yeah.
season's over. And that's the thing. Like, I just wanted to bring that up just because it's like one of those things where, like I said, after a loss, we just feel like the season is over and all this. But then it's like, yeah, we just gotta figure, it starts this weekend though against Illinois, because once again, we're gonna lose in 3 weeks. So it's like you do not want to lose 3 games in a
No.
row going into Northwestern. So that's why that Illinois game is such a big game. It's a huge game. I'm already looking forward to it. I'm excited for it, but it's really big. So
It's big. It's big. Yeah. I was gonna say.
Let's take a look at the Big Ten West then from yesterday. We just talked about Penn State. Man, they were kind of in a dogfight with Northwestern. They were 26-point favorites, and they only won by 10. Illinois, I cannot believe that. Like, cannot believe that.
They were what, a
34-10.
6.5-point underdog?
Yes. No, well, at one
Underdog.
point they were a 7-point underdog.
So, right. So I don't know what's going on with Wisconsin. I didn't get to really follow up on them, post game or anything like that.
It's bad.
Is Graham Mertz that bad? I mean, I know we kind of talked. Well, go
Tyler,
ahead.
I'm pretty sure they had 2 yards rushing yesterday.
Wow. Yeah, and for talk about an identity in running the football for Iowa. That's what Wisconsin's built off of. Offensive line, running the football, Braylon Allen downhill. I didn't know that. That's insane. That's insane. If you're Wisconsin, you're not winning a game. Nobody's winning a game with negative 2 yard or 2 yard, whatever you said.
2 yards rushing.
I mean, I'm sure that counts sack yards, but
so okay.
I don't know the stats. I haven't looked.
I'm looking at stats right now. So okay. Illinois was 3 for 13 third down efficiency. They only had 304 total yards, Illinois, and they won 34-10 with those stats.
Yeah.
The reason why, if you really look at this, I think Illinois is a good team, but maybe we're everybody's overreacting.
Here. Yeah.
Wisconsin had 3 turnovers.
Sure.
And they had close to 80 yards of penalties. So you factor those 2 things in. That's why Illinois won 34-10.
Right.
Because really, like I said, I'm looking at Illinois.
Well, yeah, Illinois probably had a short field half the time to score. So
yeah. But still a great win for Illinois. And still going to be a very tough game next week. But sometimes and this is when it comes betting, people are sometimes not very good at betting because I think people overreact to the week before.
Yeah.
And then, and then it ends up okay, maybe that, it's like last week and in the NFL. Remember Jacksonville killed the Chargers 38-10. And then it's oh, Jacksonville, really good team. And then you saw today they lose by 10 points to Philadelphia. It's just sometimes you just overreact to the week before. Yeah. And sometimes it's no, that was just kind of a one thing wonder, or maybe there was, unless you really watched the game, maybe there were some things that happened that kind of factored into that. And so for this, 3 turnovers, Wisconsin, what the hell? And yeah. But regardless, I'm very surprised by that. Purdue 20-10 against Minnesota. Just a week ago, we were like saying Minnesota is the team to beat, and then they lose at
Oh,
home.
I had them in my wager winners by 12.5, so that didn't look great at all.
No. And then Nebraska finally getting the win, which at one point, actually going in the fourth quarter, it was actually 21-21. I turned that game on when I got home, and yeah, it was they ended up pulling it out. I did not realize this until last night, Tyler, but did you know Indiana in the offseason like changed up their offense like philosophy, and they are a no huddle, and they snap the ball within like 15 seconds, or like they're like in between each play only takes like 15 seconds. They're like one of the only teams that like they're like that quick. I did not
They're the
realize
New
that.
Oregon, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're the New Oregon. But
Yeah.
except they're off. I mean, except they have a terrible quarterback, or not a very good quarterback. So they're, but like, it's kind of funny.
Right.
I did not realize that that's their new offense now.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, no, like you said, I mean, just looking at this, right? Northwestern stays in a game with Penn State. Illinois beats Wisconsin. Purdue beats Minnesota. Just anybody can beat anybody in this side of the Big Ten and in this league right now. And besides, I would say obviously Ohio State seems like a clear winner in
I
most
also
of
have
their
that
games,
here.
but
49-10, Tyler.
for sure. So, I mean, in the West, you've got a shot. You just got to find a way to win. I mean, at this point, Collin, we can't in this pod, and I want to say this real quick. Sitting on this podcast and complaining about the offense every week. I mean, I don't want to do that. I feel like I know what this offense is. It is not getting better, clearly.
Yeah, it's
right.
not.
I mean, we might have a game in there where like, oh my gosh, I am not. Even if we do put up 400 yards of offense against Northwestern, for example, what do I take from that? Nothing, because I know this offense is so up and down, and more down than up. So I want to say, like, yeah, like you said, if we're going to try to be positive and at least be positive about the season, I want to say that we're going to have a chance to be in every game that we're in. I feel like, besides Ohio State, the rest of the way, and if you can find a way to win a lot of these games, you give yourself a great chance to, potentially get back into the big game at the end of the year.
Yep. So what are your thoughts on this screen now? Michigan State on a 3-game losing streak after what
I predicted Michigan State to be decent this year. I have like 8 wins. There's no way.
I had a feeling that they were
a
little overhyped.
I know you did.
They are. But man, they just got done. Was it this offseason that they paid Mel Tucker? I mean, 90 million or something like that. And
100 million, 90 or 100 million.
Yeah.
I thought, and I was kind of riding the Mel Tucker train. And one thing and it's, I don't know why I overlook it. I'm not necessarily overlooking it, but it's like Michigan State's not, I mean, they're not horrible. They're in the Big Ten East though. Like they're in a gauntlet of a schedule, and like Michigan State, like for a team that kind of was great last year, it might have been more of a one-year wonder, type of team too last year. So,
well, you bring up that they're in the Big Ten East because their 2 losses so far has come to Minnesota, Big Ten West, and then Rutgers, or Maryland, a team that you should beat. They still have to play Michigan. They still have to play Ohio State.
This year's crossover games for Michigan State are kind of tough. Like, Minnesota. I mean,
don't they play Wisconsin? I'm pretty sure they play Wisconsin still that too, dude. Like they are probably, they might not make. I don't think.
And Wisconsin's not great, but like Wisconsin, I mean, it's still Wisconsin. So yeah, no, their crossovers were.
Yeah, they do. They played Michigan State.
Yeah, I thought they played one more decent Big Ten West team, which again, Wisconsin's not great, but neither is Michigan State. So that could probably be a very close game.
Yep. And so you see here then too, like it's gonna be Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State like every year.
Like every year.
More than likely Michigan and Ohio State, just because Penn State has to play at Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't think Penn State's beating Ohio State. But yeah, the Big Ten East,
very top heavy as usual.
As always. And then you have the Big Ten West, that's not. And then some other games that happened on yesterday. Obviously, Georgia, scare. You just knew though that they were going to come back and win that game. Like you just knew.
Oh, I know. I mean, I thought the same thing.
It's just, I don't know. It's Georgia. Like that. Those things happen ever so often. You see it. It's a night game on the road.
I hate the SEC. I'm probably biased. So I was hoping for Georgia to lose. I was hoping for it.
It's one of those things where like they're going to, even if they lost, they would find their way back in the playoffs anyways, because they would end up winning the SEC East, and then they probably would beat Alabama and they'd be back in.
Yeah.
But watching that game the last night, I turned it on for a little bit. I was like, God, how is Missouri in the SEC? I always forget that. Like, how is a team that is like probably 2-hour drive from Iowa City to Columbia, I think is where Missouri is at. How like they play in the SEC. I feel bad for that
That
fan
is
base because
crazy.
like once again they have to face like these tough teams like every single year. It's no wonder that they are a joke. They need. I don't know why they would go to the SEC. I don't know why. Like
Well,
they
yeah.
would be in the Big
Also,
Ten or something.
their fan base cannot travel very well. If every
No.
game's played in the South, like I
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
would
I
be
don't.
terrible. And then Alabama, Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas kept. I'm pretty sure at one point it was like a 5-point game. I'm pretty sure it was like 20
Well, you
ish
see what
to.
happened? Bryce Young got hurt.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say Bryce Young got
Okay,
hurt.
but no, yeah, you're correct in saying that. Their backup quarterback, I don't know his name, but I saw one play where he is fast. I mean, he's a runner. Like
Really?
oh my gosh, he ran for like 70 yards, almost a touchdown. He kind of got ran out of bounds. But no, they're
Well,
Alabama. I mean,
yeah. Well, you see right here in the third quarter was 28-23.
yeah.
So actually, yeah, it was 28-23, and then yeah, 21 points in the fourth quarter to win the game. So
Well, they
they
had like a 75-yard touchdown in the like a in the fourth quarter. Like I just said, that quarterback ran for like 70 yards, almost a touch. It's like Arkansas just gave up too many big plays at the end of the game. But yeah, I mean, Alabama's looked a little susceptible this year.
yep, they
A time or
definitely
two.
have.
Texas now. I mean, it was close against Arkansas here for a second. So I mean, they're not. I don't think that they're. But neither is Georgia. I mean, Georgia 2 week. I mean, but they played Kent State last week. They didn't look great, and now they
No.
played
So
Missouri
maybe
and
this might be the
potentially
first
what
year where there's
I'm
actually
just
some.
saying there might be a little parity in the SEC. I don't know. I'm not saying it yet. I mean, obviously, both teams are 5-0. A win's a win. So, but hopefully, just better. Good to see games like this, though, not just complete blowouts all the time. I think.
Exactly. Even though that Alabama game kind of turned into a
Yeah,
blowout.
turned into sure, but it was good for a second.
Yeah. TCU Oklahoma. I just bring this game up just because Oklahoma, man, like you kill Nebraska 2 weeks ago, and your season's looking really good, and then you get blown out by, or you don't really get blown out by Kansas State, but you lose Kansas State at home, and then you get blown out on the road at
Yeah,
TCU. TCU, really good team, and the reason why I bring up TCU is because their quarterback is from Iowa, a guy that's a dual threat guy, and of course we never got, or like I'm sure we probably tried recruiting him, but it's like of course like we didn't make him a priority. Man, it would be kind of nice having that. I think it's Max Dungeon or Durgeon.
Duggan.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
the dude can run and throw for. He can run for 200, throw for 200. He's
yeah, dude's a stud.
just an absolute athlete.
Yeah.
Lewis Central, right?
Yep. Lewis Central, Council
Yeah.
Bluffs. And then Iowa State 11, Kansas 14. Man, they really shot themselves in the foot. Then they missed like 3 field goals or something like
Missed
that. And
3
they
field goals.
had that muff punt,
Two off the crossbar, and then the last one just
which is
wide
just
left.
yeah.
Just pulled it completely overcompensated. Hit the right, I think field goal, the right upright 2 times, and then just completely overcompensated the
Yeah.
last one.
Not
Game
good.
day's going to Lawrence, Kansas next week.
Kansas 5-0 for the
Kansas.
first time. But I think they can think. Like I said, I think they could thank Iowa State's kicker. Iowa State should have easily won that game.
Oh,
If I was
they
an Iowa
should've.
State fan, I would be pretty upset because once again, actually, their play calling. You talk about. We always want to talk about Brian Ferentz and Iowa. Their play calling was terrible yesterday.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of opportunities to win that game. I don't think Hunter Deckers had a very good game. I saw after on a lot of Twitter, people were saying like, everyone that was excited for Purdy to be gone. Blah blah blah. Like, wish we had Purdy. But really, like I said, I just think if they
your defense.
Goals, they win
your defense holds them to 14. I mean, like I said, for a team that has a competent offense, that shouldn't. Right. I mean, that's 9 points left on the board. So, should have been an easy dub.
Yep. And the reason why I have their schedule pulled up right here is just because we were talking about this the other day with Iowa State. They almost they needed to win that game. And I know Kansas is better this year, but you can't really start 0-2 because you look at this schedule, man. Kansas State at home, which Kansas State always gives Iowa State problems, like every single year, regardless of how good or bad Kansas State is, always gives them problems.
And they're a good team this year.
They
so
are.
far.
Adrian Martinez, like they are pretty good. They lost to Tulane like a couple weeks ago, but they've kind of figured, they beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They beat Texas Tech, I believe, yesterday. So they're gonna come into Ames with some momentum and some confidence. And then you have to go on the road at Texas. That's never easy. They get Oklahoma at home, which I know Oklahoma hasn't looked good, but they're still Oklahoma. Like it's still gonna be a tough game. It's like Iowa playing Wisconsin, right? Like even though Wisconsin's bad, like it's still Wisconsin. Like they're still gonna give you everything they have. West Virginia at home. Then they have to play at
Might be
Oklahoma
their easiest
State,
game, West
at
Virginia.
Oklahoma State,
Yeah.
and then of course my
Texas
thing I
Tech.
can't see. So
Oh,
Texas Tech,
yeah. And then at TCU.
and then well,
It's
yeah,
it's
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 tough.
brutal. I
Yeah,
mean, the Big 12, like we talked about on the recent pods, Big 12's pretty
good.
deep.
Yeah,
Pretty deep top
I'll
to
be the
bottom.
I'll be the
Very
first
deep.
first to admit. Yeah, Big 12 might be the best conference. I mean, there's some good teams, and then even on the bottom, there's some teams like
Well,
Iowa
yeah.
State, for example. Like they're towards the bottom of the Big 12 right now in standings, but they're a team that is still like they're not a
Right.
horrible team. So like it just kind of shows you how deep the conference really is. And you got a team like Kansas, who's usually always shitty, is 5-0.
Well, that's what I
So
mean. You've got 5-0 Kansas and 4-0 TCU, not even ranked, like which they both will be next week. There's no doubt about it. So
yeah,
they're,
just
they're yeah, it is crazy.
and so Kansas, like, can you imagine if Kansas made the Big 12 championship game? They probably won't though, just because like watching this Kansas team, like they're good. I mean,
Right.
they're gonna lose some games
I
here.
just
There's,
say
I mean, they're
I don't know their schedule, but they haven't gotten into the meat of their schedule yet. And
yeah,
and like we said, the Big
they're gonna
12,
lose some
I think
games.
teams can beat each other. So
Yeah. I will say with Iowa State Iowa State though, the thing that would suck is because Kansas's defense is not good, and Iowa State only had 11 points, and like they just
yeah,
cannot do anything. And so it doesn't help that Brock got hurt like the first play of the game. So I mean that's pretty big.
sure.
It'd
Yeah,
be like what us like losing a running back right away. Well, I guess if we lost LaShawn, I guess we have Caleb, but you know what I mean. It's tough when like your best player gets hurt. It's hard to kind of overcome that sometimes, and so.
yeah,
But yeah, Iowa State definitely. I mean, that was a almost kind of like next week for us against Illinois. It's almost like a must win because it's like your schedule does not get any easier. So you want to
right.
get that win on the road, and they had every shot to win yesterday, and they couldn't. So
Yeah,
it still makes. I mean, that watching Iowa State yesterday once again, taking nothing away, but it really pisses me off that we lost to them. Like we should not have lost to Iowa State. If our offense was just halfway decent, we easily win that game, and it just annoys me. So I'm just gonna leave it at
yep,
that.
yep,
But well, that will do it for this episode.
yeah,
Kind of got able to get a lot of things accomplished on this episode. Talked a lot of
yeah.
stuff, and we'll be back again later in the week talking a little Illinois football, and yeah,
A lot bigger game than I think me and you maybe anticipated before the season
going into the
started, right?
season. Yeah,
Kind of
no,
like you said, I think it really a must-win type of game for sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yep. I would be curious to remember that episode where we ranked our schedule. I'm
Yeah,
curious where like we put Illinois at because now it's like it might be higher up
that's what I'm
than we
saying.
thought.
Oh,
So
100%.
love to go back and kind of look at that and see where we ranked opponents and kind of see if it actually kind of aligned with what their end up being because obviously every year there's always a team where you didn't think
Yeah,
was good is good and teams that you thought were good are not. For example, like
right.
Wisconsin, I'm pretty sure we both had probably Wisconsin in the top two,
Yeah, no,
more
I
than
think I had
likely, or
Wisconsin
maybe
winning.
top three.
I think I had Wisconsin winning it.
Did you?
I think I had them winning the West.
Oh, dang. Yeah, maybe I did too, actually, now that I think about it.
Well, I had Iowa losing to them too.
Yeah.
So
So,
I had Iowa going like 8-4. I know overall.
and I
I
had
think
them
you got
going
them 9
nine,
and
nine,
3.
three. Yep. Which,
Yeah.
hey, it's still a shot.
No,
No,
I'm not. I'm not
it's
counting out
looking
8
more.
and 4. I just
It's looking more
we
like, hate to say
we
it, it's looking more
I
like a
have to
7-5,
say
6-6.
I was gonna say I have to see what happens next week. If we don't and how we lose too.
Yeah.
I think that matters.
If if we
Um
if we
if
lose
we come
next
out and we
week,
lose like 20-7 next week, just something where we don't do again anything on offense. And again, I know we'll get into this game later on in the week, but I will be the first to say, right, call it early. This is going to be a long season.
yeah.
So
Like if that happens next week, especially because it's a guaranteed loss against Ohio State, yeah, you might be looking at like a 6-6 year, maybe not even
we're
6-6.
we're trying to be optimistic, right? The
Yeah.
West is open. We got it. It starts now. You can't afford to lose this next game. So
No. Well, and we haven't played any Big Ten West teams yet, so we got to remember
right.
that as well, right? Right? Like we played our two Big Ten East teams. We still have, I think, one more. Yeah, we still have Ohio State, but it really starts now because obviously, if you win your division games, you're good. I mean, it's like
Well,
you
with how
control your own
close it is
destiny.
after 1 week, you know that like every game matters. Like obviously every Big Ten West game matters, but especially especially the ones that are deemed like maybe your easier games on the schedule. You can't, because yeah, like you said, it just doesn't get any easier. So
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
care if Wisconsin's not great. It's still Wisconsin. Like it's gonna be a tough game.
It's gonna be,
You
yep.
just know it is. So I don't know.
We'll just have to see how it
Yeah,
goes. It's college
got a lot
football. It's like
covered.
every
Yeah,
game. I mean, it's just
yeah,
like we start getting into like middle of October, end of October. So many things can change, and
yeah,
yeah, it's the
yeah.
beauty of college football. So, all right, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys all for listening, and we'll be back later in the week. Go Hawks.